Welcome to the Mindset Mechanics Podcast with Juan and Ladybug Jenkins. It's not too late to find, face, and fix what's stalling you. The shop is open, so pull on in.
Welcome to Mechanical Monday. You are in the shop. I am Ladybug Jenkins, your mindset mechanic, reminding you that it's not too late to find, face, and fix what's stalling you. And when you do that, you can accelerate into the life of your dreams. In today's episode titled Exit Row, we are going to chat a little bit about the topic of selfishness, yes, and how it affects not only us, but those around us. So, in my limited research, selfishness I found is defined as a motive. They were very clear to say a motive that involves lacking consideration for others, concerned chiefly with one's own personal profit or pleasure. So let's talk about what that looks like in real life. I know that oftentimes we have skits or we write stories to help illustrate our point, but this story was given to me. I recently traveled from Tampa to Atlanta to the Mantle Conference. Absolutely amazing. If you can make your way to attend next year, next July in Atlanta, absolutely do that. So it was time to come home. We're all on the plane and in the exit row. If you're not familiar with airplanes, the exit row is a row in the middle of the plane. Sometimes you have two or three of them, depending on the size of the vehicle. But this particular plane had two exit rows, and the exit row in front of me, there was a little old lady. And I mean, not just old in age. She was in her 80s, but physically, she was a little old lady. The shuffling steps, her back was a little bent, needed lots of help, all of that good stuff. So she was sitting in the exit row, and the flight attendant asked a gentleman sitting in the row behind her if he would switch seats with her. So the exit row is your in case of an emergency row. There are instructions on the door, and basically you take your two hands, you squeeze them together, you remove the door from the plane and push it out into the water, onto the ground, wherever it is. And then you have that magnificent slide that inflates and you slide down to safety if everything goes well. And so to be in that row, you have to have the capacity to open that door and push the door out. How often does that happen? I have no idea. I did not research that, but that is a responsibility of sitting in the exit row, and you must give a verbal yes to the flight attendant that you are willing and able to do that. So even if this woman wanted to, she was not in a position to do that. Someone had to help her into her seat. And so the flight attendant asked a young man on the row behind her. He was about 30. He was about 6'2", very well built, strong, all of that good stuff. And she asks him, and he's sitting next to his girlfriend. And the flight attendant just explains very briefly and asks him if he would sit in the exit row. And without hesitating, he says to her, "No, if something goes down, I'm not helping anybody but myself." And the flight attendant was floored. She was in her early 20s. And his girlfriend is sitting there, and she is obviously mortified. She's so embarrassed. And something interesting happened. The flight attendant, her mouth fell open, and she went to someone else. That someone happened to be me. And I, of course, agreed to switch with the older lady so that she could sit comfortably, and I was in the exit row. But something interesting happened. The young lady sitting next to him, his girlfriend, she said, "I'll do it." And the flight attendant looked at her, she said, "Actually, no, because if something happens, you'll neglect everybody else in here to help him." And I found that really interesting because he is the man and she is the woman. in this relationship. But there is something about his level of selfishness. I imagine, of course, flight attendants, they meet thousands of people, but there's something about the way that a selfish person moves. They train everyone around them to cater to them, to care for them, to bow down to them, to put them first. Because it took me a moment to try and understand why the flight attendant would say that. No, you'll neglect everyone else in here to help him if something happens. And perhaps this was her story at one time. Perhaps she was in a relationship with a man like that. Perhaps she still is, when all of this is going on. But she said it with so much authority. And there were a couple of people that went, huh? And they were offended and they felt like she overstepped. Now, as a professional, was that her job? Is she their therapist? No. But she just said it so quickly. I don't believe she gave it much thought. And the girl didn't respond. She didn't have any kind of rebuttal. She just sat there with her head in her hand, and she was very embarrassed that this big, strong man that she is with has this attitude. No, if something happens, I'm only looking out for myself, not anyone else. And then I realized that includes her. Because if you are that selfish, if you don't care about a little old lady who obviously cannot do what is required, if you don't care at all, that's going to include the young lady. I 100% believe that. And so that is what happened. That was the demonstration of selfishness, that we have all of these people on this plane, and you are saying in advance that the 2-year-olds, there were several toddlers, the little old ladies, even the woman who was probably cooking and cleaning and warming your bed when she is not your wife. You are letting everyone know if something happens, I don't care about any of you. I'm only going to look out for myself. And now this isn't judging him, because there was a time that I was very selfish, not in this way. With a background in nursing, you just learned to care for people. You learn to put people first. You learn to pay attention, to anticipate people's needs and then meet them. That's just part of the job. And once you receive that kind of training and you do it every day, when you come into your personal life, you don't do something different. I was selfish in that I didn't want to help people if it meant I had to get close to them, if it meant I had to be vulnerable, because then they could hurt me. And they had. I have had so many things happen to me in my lifetime. In hindsight, it's obviously the enemy fighting me, not wanting me to walk in purpose. Part of my purpose is to serve others in a very personal way, to help people, to teach people, to assist people with being delivered, with stepping into a new season of their life. That is what we do at Mindset Mechanics. That is what I do in my coaching. So I was selfish in that I would love to help you, but I need you to promise me in advance that you're not going to betray me. I need you to promise me in advance that you are not going to hurt me. I need you to promise me in advance that something you hear or say in confidence isn't going to be repeated to everyone I know, that you're not going to get on social media and post my personal struggles, my personal business. I need you to promise me that if we ever have a disagreement, you're not going to throw up something that I told you in a moment of weakness or a moment of counsel to shut me down or hurt me. And that's not possible. That's not reasonable, because there are two types of people that hurt you in this life. There are the kind that don't know they hurt you, and there are the kind that don't care that they hurt you. And neither of those people can be convinced. Oftentimes, if you've ever had to go to someone and tell them that they offended you or that they hurt you, they look at you like you've sprouted an extra head. They have no idea what you're talking about, and they are very quick to tell you that. And then the person that doesn't care, that bullied you when you were a teenager or even on a job in school, if you ever get the nerve to confront them, because I have, and you tell them that they've hurt you, sometimes they'll laugh, or they'll give you the shoulder shrug like, okay, and suck it up, buttercup. They don't care. So you are wasting your time on people who don't know they hurt you or who don't care that they hurt you. So it's not a realistic thing to ask. It's not something you can ask. People change, situations change, life gets a hold of people. So you cannot allow yourself to be held back and be selfish because you're afraid it's going to cost you something, because it's going to cost you your time, because it's going to cost you your talent, because it is going to put you at risk of being injured mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. You can't move in selfishness trying to protect yourself, because the same place that people have to be to harm you is the same place that people have to be to minister to you, to love on you, to pour into you, to mentor you, to help you grow. So selfishness is not going to get it. There is not a scenario where selfishness works, because it is the opposite of love, and none of this relationship stuff works without love. And so that is what is in my rear view in hindsight, all of the times that I did not help people because I was afraid of being hurt. I was afraid of being vulnerable. I was afraid of being exposed. I don't trust anybody. That is where my selfishness stemmed from. And it is a form of selfishness, because you will not give what you can give. You will not do what you can do. You will not help when you can help, because you are primarily concerned with self. Philippians 2 verses 3 and 4 says, "Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others." So not only should you be considerate of others, but if there's a choice, you are to put others first, which is counterintuitive to our human nature. And it is also definitely counterintuitive to culture, when it's every man for himself, who has the most likes, who has the most views, who has the biggest following, who's the bigger celebrity. So that is what I wanted to share on this Mechanical Monday. Selfishness is not the play. Thanks for stopping by the shop. I trust it helped. I'm Ladybug Jenkins, your mindset mechanic, reminding you that it's not too late to find, face, and fix what's stalling you. Amen.
Thanks for stopping by the shop. Tune in next Mechanical Monday so you can get the tools to find, face, and fix your mindset and accelerate your life.